There's the world, and there's the other world. You could look like this, or this. There's driving, and there's driving. There's the ocean, and there's the ocean. There are other people, and there are other people.
Don't worry, everything's just fine. Just fine.
You can go to a game,
Don't grab, don't push, don't look for too much. Don't
or you can run a game.
breathe without leave.
There's the city that threatens you,
Don't check, just balance on the fence. Don't answer, don't ask, don't try me.
and the city you control.
Don't whisper, don't talk.
Life is full of problems.
She complete, don't miss the one beat. Don't try.
Game life is simple.
Don't piss in the drain, don't make a will.
Life offers you this escape. Wouldn't you prefer this one?
Fill out any foam, don't compensate, don't cower, don't grow, don't come around late. Don't hover at the gate. Don't take it on board, don't throw it on yourself, just play another chord. If you feel it getting low.
It's easy to do. All you have to do is use your controller.
The video game industry is bigger than Hollywood. It's also probably the first $20 billion industry where the experts are all under 15.
What we do in the Nintendo Evaluation Center is test out new games that haven't hit the market yet. And the best way to find out if we're on the right track with those games is by getting consumers' feedback.
Well, that wasn't my ideal game, but my ideal game is something you can go really fast. That is sort of hard, and that you can jump a lot and spin a lot and just do all sorts of stuff with the characters.
We watch their facial expressions. That's why we have that mirror, that one-way mirror, so we can actually stand back there and watch them playing their game, see if their faces are showing that the game might be too difficult, or if they're getting frustrated, or if they're totally engrossed in a game.
Sometimes if you sit down a lot, you'll get into the character and like go into him and be him, and you can just play without looking at the controller, and you're just moving your thumbs and stuff.
Oh, it's critical that they identify with him. They really have to get inside of the game for the game to truly be successful. They cannot be passively observing this behavior. They have to do the tripping and falling and interim losses only then to succeed. But it's got to be them, and they are on the screen as Mario. No question about it.
Okay, when you get your form, put your first name, your last name. Does anyone else need a pencil?
They'll fill out an evaluation form and rate various aspects of the game,
With you.
like the graphics and the audio, the play control. And we total up their points, and then we also ask them a series of open-ended questions, like what did you like the most about the game, what did you like the least, would you recommend it to your friends, and then their likelihood to actually purchase the game.
It's so real to so many people that in another building, Nintendo has 300 counselors on call 20 hours a day to help out. Imagine if they could get all the adults hooked like this.
Right. Nintendo Gameplay, this is Aaron. How can I help you?
No, el problema que le estaba pasando.
This is the Nintendo call center. This is where we handle all the calls for consumer services and gameplay. We average around 160,000 to 180,000 calls per week. We play one game and answer questions in the other. Usually the reason we do that is because we're constantly having to learn new games. And so I'll be playing like F-Zero and answering a question on Zelda Link to the Past. So it's going to take you towards the boss and stuff. And the Nightmare Key, we don't want you to go there yet. We want you to go get the bracelet first. He has needed some help on Zelda Link's Awakening, which is one of our new Game Boy games. And he was stuck in one of the palaces, 6, and he didn't know where to go. He was like lost. He was like, he beat this guy, he didn't know where to go next. I asked him if he had a power bracelet, and he said he did. Well, he didn't, so then I had to help him go get that. He knows where the power bracelet is now. He's going to go pick that up, and he's on to the boss, and he's happy. He's moving. Oh, well, there's 1,200 games, and they want us to know all of them, but we try real hard. I'm at about 800, 850.
Seems to me I can throw ice balls all day long that way.
Yeah. Okay. See how things work out? Isn't that great?
Did you have any other questions at all? Okay, well, thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
It started innocently enough.
He's back. Fantasy characters have always been big in Japan. Until now, they came from comics or cartoons, where they bumped into a language barrier.
世界で初めてこう世界に飛び出たキャラクターっていうのがいるんですよ。というわけでですね、
But with video games, which have no language, for the first time, 2 Japanese characters have conquered the world.
新しいキャラクターとして生まれたのが
Mario and Sonic the Hedgehog.
Japanese daily life is quiet, polite and restrained. Even the colours are muted. There's not much space for noisy behaviour. But in Japan, the world of fantasy is never far away.
What I wanted to create was a fantasy world, but rooted in the experience of daily life. Many of them are things I remember from my own childhood, but everything is a bit more fun. For instance, Mario jumps up and down like a normal person, but he can jump much higher than a real person could and never hurt himself. Everybody has these childhood memories, but not everybody recalls them. Our job is to help people recall those moments. The small machines of a few years ago took a lot of ingenuity to bring the screen to life. Because originally he was made of only 16 pixels, we were pretty cramped in what we could do. His hair was only 3 pixels. Since that wasn't enough to make it fly up properly when he jumped, we gave him a cap. And in order to make him seem to run fast, we needed to make his arms very visible. So they had to be a different colour from his body, so we put him in overalls. It's not easy to escape from the humdrum everyday world. I often get bogged down in it. But there's a shrine near here dedicated to a fox god, and this fox god can fly. So I had the idea of making a fox that could fly through arches. We use polygon rendering to make the 3D effect, so you feel you are the fox. People just watching somebody play might think it looks boring. Just to look at, Mario is boring too. You can't understand until you play it. If you just give people the shell, their imagination has room to fill in the details.
Hey! You still don't have a Sega CD? Huh? What are you waiting for? Nintendo to make one? You have seen the games, right? Wrong answer, man. Show 'em! want to see more?
It's not dreaming that turns on Western kids. With Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega takes advantage of powerful new machines to drown the player in a flood of images streaming by, just too fast to take in.
Like when I first got here, I wasn't too much into games. I had a Nintendo myself, and I thought Mario was kind of weak. And Sonic came. I thought it was a cool game. I mean, it was a lot faster than any of the Mario games, and then they came out with Sonic 2, which is really fast and it's hard to keep up. Now we've got Sonic CD, which is a little faster than Sonic 2, so I guess they're just getting faster and faster.
What's happening in the brain of somebody doing this is more like sex or tripping than anything else. Of course, sex and drugs aren't usually available to 10-year-olds.
This is what it feels like.
Something sex, drugs and games have in common. They always leave you wanting more. With CD power, you also get the game from Sonic's point of view. Another notch more engrossing.
I mean, I do sometimes panic that if I can't complete the level, I can't complete certain parts of the game. I do kind of freak out if, I don't complete what I intend to do. And I guess that's what keeps me going.
One of the great things about any game is learning to think with your body. Flipping the frog may not be much of a thrill, but a good video game works the same way. The controls lie so well under your hands that you don't have to think about what you're doing. Street Fighter 2 is a great game, not just because you get to beat the other guy to a pulp, but because you feel it while you're doing it. So a game can transport you into the body of a killing machine, or into something else entirely.
What I like most about this game, or video games in general, when the control is right, is this effect of learning without putting a conscious effort into it. My dad was in the excavation business. He had all these big machines to move earth. On a weekend, he had me sit on this 20-ton piece of steel that digs earth, and the way you control this arm was with two 8-directional joysticks. And what you do is, like, one would extend the elbow while the other would extend the wrist and the other would extend the shoulder, and you'd have to find all these combinations to make it do what you want. It just took a lot of time to get it down, and I got to the point where I would just think about where I would want the shovel to go, and it would just go, and I wouldn't have to think about what I was doing with my left hand or my right hand. I would just think about the arm, and this 20-ton metal arm became an extension of myself. When a dolphin swims, he doesn't consciously move his flukes and his fins to guide through the water. He just sort of thinks about where he wants to go, and he goes there. So that's how I tried to make the controls. The water has viscosity, which means that your mobility is limited. You can't just turn on a dime. The faster you go, the wider an arc that you have to take. There's momentum and inertia, and the gravity is different above the surface than it is below the surface. After we get the mechanic working, right, where it felt like you were swimming, we still had to make it a game. Part of a game is having puzzle elements. or challenges that you have to think your way out of. Here's an example of one of them. This vertical shaft has a current that's an upward current that's too strong to swim. No matter how much I go, I can't quite do it. But conveniently, there's a rock right over here, and if you push the rock over the edge and follow it, the theory is that the rock breaks the current and goes around the dolphin, and he could follow it down. That allows us to get into other areas. There's a level in the game called the City of Forever. It's part of the sunken city of Atlantis. And part of the story is that the Atlantean people escaped from an alien invasion into Earth's distant past. But of course, they left behind the time machine. The way the time machine works is it's two weird parabolic mirrors or satellite antennas, and you have to position yourself in the middle and do a sonar pulse. You got to get it just right, and if you do, the sonar pulse gets into sync and builds amplitude, and weird energies begin to kick in. One of the most fascinating things, I think, on the face of the planet is the way these animals communicate. They actually sing a song and they listen to the reflections of the sounds of objects. And those sounds could be used by their brains somehow to paint a picture. And then the idea of that they could make a sound, listen to the sound, and swim away and go to a friend and play that sound back, and then his friend sees the same thing that he saw. I think is really cool. During development, I had to resist the temptation of using some obvious adversaries for dolphins, like mankind, oil slicks and fishing nets. And I resisted because I really wanted the experience to be 100% from the dolphin's point of view. I guess the message that I was trying to get across is that we're not the only sentient beings on the planet. And man belongs to the earth, and it's not the other way around. And it's true for dolphins too. It's, we're all part of it. And they have their own point of view, their own stories, probably their own mythologies and their own jokes. Sometimes mice look like mice and not human beings with big ears. We're not the only ones. I bet more than 90% of the people in the world feel that about sea mammals, that there really is an intelligence that's comparable to our own.
If a game can mimic a dolphin's world, it doesn't take much more to make other kinds of game that adults, as well as children, will find entertaining. Of course, you lose a bit of realism for the sake of interactivity, but in a game, you're always in control. Not to mention the other advantages of being able to do it all in the privacy of home.
You know what I don't like about the games? It just takes too long to get here.
Yeah, early. Line's gonna be long. We don't know what the weather's gonna look like.
I'm chilly already. Tickets $40 a pop for this.
Man, that's $750 a season. And when we get here, we only wanted 50,000 people.
And what do you get to see? Not a lot.
On this disc, we've actually got John Madden NFL Football for the 3D multiplayer. This is a CD-based player, and this CD actually holds 650 megabytes of data. The Genesis or Sega cartridge games have about approximately 2 megabytes of storage.
Hi everyone, welcome to John Madden Football.
So what we've been able to do is enhance the graphics enormously. We've got 38 teams from which you can choose to play, 3D stadiums, digitized clips of the referee. You're live right down on the field and in the action.
Go, 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 go! No, 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 you got this. Get him, get him! Oh, no!
go. I'm blocking for you. I'm blocking for you. Come on, come on. Me and him are a team. And so far, we beat everybody in here tonight. We'll beat you, too. And we beat them, too. We're beating them, too. I mean, but previously, you know, it's just 2 people, you know, and everybody else has to watch. You know, you take your turn. But now you got 4 people who can play at a time. I mean, it makes you know, more sense. It's like a real game. Someday it'll be like a 10-player adapter, and you have everybody sitting around screaming.
Every footballer reacts differently to every move. Putting that onto a CD requires high-level artificial intelligence.
There's all kinds of things flashing around here. The black line is the direction the player is heading in. The little white line that flickers around is the acceleration. That's the directions that they're applying force. The black circle indicates the ball carrier. The white circle is the one that's most likely to attack.
Just got together on any day we could, maybe every day if we had the chance, and we'd play against one another at each other's houses. We'd carry our monitors across town, bring our favorite tapes and CDs, and sit up all night and play it, you know.
Go! Go! Y'all playing like the damn Raiders.
Another feature that you get, which is representative of what happens on television, is instant replay. But here you're in control of the camera. You can move it in and zoom it up close to the players and see what they're doing within the play. Zoom back, you can see how the entire play forms up. You can run it through in slow motion, frame by frame, fast motion, or reverse it, see what actually happened at any moment in time. Reposition the camera and take another look at it.
You have control over your own destiny. You control the play, and if you screw up, it's on you. Not where you be watching a game and your team fumbles and you just be going, ah, you know? You got no control over it.
The game gives you the option of playing any position on defense, and if you're on the offense, you control basically the plays from start to finish. You call your play, you hike the ball, you control the quarterback, then you control the receiver or running back.
Here we have the quarterback who's trying to throw to one of his teammates who have run down the field here. They're trying to get open so they can catch the pass, and these defensive players are trying to interpose to get between the thrower and the receiver. They're not supposed to run into the receivers. That's a penalty in the game. So they try to stay near, be in between, and not run into the intended receiver.
Hey, there's a 4 aspirin hit. That one knocked the snot right out of the locker.
When I hooked up with these guys and they were playing this, I said, what the hell is this shit? I started playing this game, and at first, you know, I was really lousy. I'm still pretty lousy, but I started playing it. It's like, wow, this is kind of fun. I just got trapped into this, yeah, I want to play some football.
I guess everybody's got a kid. There's enough storage space in the game for all the spontaneous moments you could want.
We actually went and shot John Madden against blue screen in a studio, and we have digitized him and put him right in the game. He comes up in the introduction as well as throughout the game, giving you a little bit of a report on halftime stats as well as commentary. I'm choosing which team I want to be the home team, which I think I'll have Buffalo, and who I want to be the visitors, which I think I'll play San Francisco 49ers. The stadiums that are in the game, when you are actually choosing which team you want for home or visitors, the stadiums will represent their home field. So, for instance, if you've chosen San Francisco as the home team, you're going to get an open field with turf. Also, you've got weather to contend to in an open stadium. The player has the ability to choose what weather they want to play in: fair, wind, rain, or snow. And this also affects the player's capabilities. They're going to slip more in snow.
You know who likes cold days? The big offensive lineman.
We have a database from the NFL National Football League which summarizes the characteristics of all the players who are modeled in the game. In the normal gameplay, each of the little dots would represent an actual professional football player who has a certain body weight and top speed and whatnot.
So I think we're going to play in an open grass stadium with fair weather. information on the model of the stadium is in the game at all times. We can use the camera positioning to give you different perspectives of play. So here at the coin toss, we're low down to the field. We have the referee. I can choose whether I want to kick or receive. So you actually play through an entire game and all the features that a real football game has. And now, as you see the football stadium, we can actually pan back with the camera and take you onto the field to actually start playing. The referee's going to set the ball. Teams come out to the lineup, and we're at the kickoff. I might actually run this back for a touchdown.
Touchdown!
Oh! Gives you such a good rush, you know. If you're out all night, you come home with the excuse that you've been playing video games all night. It doesn't set too well sometimes.
I mean, it helps. I mean, it's like safe sex. Well, I mean, think about it. I mean, if you're at home playing Madden with your boys, you ain't out in the street, you know, with your hunting around. Because, you know, men, you know, you get around women, you can't, you know, that willpower drops in the 90s. Yeah. You know, I mean, I'm at home. My girl knows Tuesday night he is there. You know, like tonight she knows I'm here. So you say you want to play some football. So you say. You know, I tell you the truth. I'd much rather stay at home play Madden than go chase women in the club. I get way more excited. I ain't spent no money on no drinks, and you know, and you won't get let down. But I never got let down anyway. But you know, it's just, but it's a common. I mean, you get a good feeling. Like if I win tonight, you know, I got something to brag about the whole week.
Gratification like that comes much more easily from digital people than real ones, especially if all that you require from them is a few physical movements and no speech. It's just a matter of capturing those moves on video.
All of the players have been digitized, which is a process where we film on video the players. We then choose which frames we're going to use and digitize them, create palettes for them, and put them right in the game.
What does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean?
People have always made models of the real world to entertain themselves or to see how it works, to get a sense of the big picture, to see how all the pieces fit together, and then maybe they get a better understanding of the world that they live in. The problem is the world has no life of its own. When the creator looks away, the world goes to sleep. It will never surprise you. The reason these characters have no life of their own is because they're flat. They're driven by these sticks that we handle. What we're more interested in doing is building a community of interacting entities that are driven by their own desires.
For that community to have life and 3 dimensions, it can't be digitized from particular shots. It, and the space it inhabits, has to be modeled completely inside the computer.
Well, the first thing in creating a 3D character, in this case, would be to start with a skeleton, which is what I have on the screen now. It's a character walking. To create that, what I would do is start drawing the various joints in the skeleton. We'll build a chain with arms, legs, a back, backbone, and a head, and basically that gives us all the flexibility that we need to get somewhat realistic looking skeleton walking through space. So now we have a complete skeleton, but what does it need now? It needs a body to walk with it too. Basically, I'm skinning the skeleton with a pre-built body and can manipulate the skeleton and the body will follow.
A body can be generic, but a face is full of individuality, which translates for programmers into information.
For facial expression, you do need fairly complex models. When you're having a conversation with someone, the area of your face that the person is looking at most are the eyes and the mouth. So each head here is 4,000 polygons. So now we have a pretty anonymous looking wireframe head. It's very hard to sort of pick out the identity of who this person is. So the best way to do that, it would be to put an actual face on the character. So now it has a skin, but it doesn't look very convincing in this case. It doesn't have any subtlety to it. The colors don't look like a face looks, the shades, the wrinkles. This here is the actual photograph of the actor, and it's basically projecting it onto the wireframe model. And then when the wireframe model moves, the texture moves with it.
However gorgeous, these faces aren't worth much as actors unless they can say whatever lines are thrown at them.
The way that the lip sync package KISS works is it interpolates between 3 basic shapes. There's the closed mouth, the ah, and then the ooh So 3 exaggerated shapes, and from those 3 shapes we can derive all the shapes that are expressed when someone speaks. And here are the 3 shapes for this character. And when we animate this over time, or add them together, you can make all kinds of different mouth shapes, and it can look like a person is talking.
Captain's personal log. I'm entering the ship's holodeck, where images of reality can be created by our computer.
What the KISS program uses is it takes audio and it takes text, and what it produces are lip movements that are synchronized with the sound. We can take any speech and then type in the text. The text is used to generate the phonemes, which in turn will create an animation of a character speaking those words. So it's a universal lip sync speech generator, and it can work in any language.
Highly useful in crew training.
Highly enjoyable when used for games and recreation.
Highly enjoyable when used for games and recreation. Highly enjoyable when used for games and recreation.
So what's my motivation?
Games are beginning to deal in emergent behavior. The sum of many different choices may produce something neither the designer nor the player expected. Something with a kind of life of its own. In this game, Syndicate, that's fairly easy, since that life is mainly limited to shooting and looting. Other games may look more primitive, but their social engineering is much more ambitious.
This is a test version, an interim version of Star Trek Next Generation title called A World for All Seasons.
We're being hailed.
What we've done is
main viewer.
Make a program which combines elements of simulation and narrative. In a simulation, you typically will create a vehicle or some kind of physical object and imbue it or provide it with the behaviors of the object as it would act in the real world. So, for example, you may make a plane or a car, and it'll work like a plane or a car in a three-dimensional environment. What we've done is take that principle and apply it to human beings, so that we are creating objects which have the characteristics and behaviors of human beings. And we're not saying that they really are alive or sentient or aware. We would, it would be interesting if we could get them angry or afraid. But they'll do that only if we provide them with the behaviors. So we want just enough dramatic performance from these characters to hook the viewer.
All that involves is programming a CD with rules like the rules of football to govern the subtleties of human interaction.
And one of the places we start is with desire. Characters are driven by desire, and they have objectives. And to the extent that their desires and objectives conflict, we end up with drama.
The transmission came from your planet's surface. Who sent this?
Within the scenario, they know that there are things they need to do, whether it's save the Enterprise or connect with a new world where there is a new race of beings that they have some common ground with. That provides them with the objectives, and then we build into them sequences of events that they may or may not elect to pursue, but they really make the decision as to what they should do next.
Set objectives. Control Magnus.
That means that they're somewhere in a world, and you'd like to see where they are naturally, and you use this controller. In this case, we've created a simple kind of picture-in-picture interface, and this is a form of channel surfing where you can jump from one character to the next and see what they're up to. If you jump from character to character, they are involved in their experiences. Whether or not you're there to see them, they are acting. In this case, we have an alien who's making his pitch to get help from the Federation.
We're being hailed.
Main viewer.
The cold is nearly upon us, and without your help, my people will all die. Aren't their lives worth saving, Captain Picard?
Counselor, I am moved to offer our help, but is this sincerity or guile? Does he speak the truth?
Picard turns to his counselor for advice, and at this point I can kind of steer her and determine what she's likely to do. And that's what makes it more interesting. It's one thing to jump from channel to see characters and what they're doing. It's another to jump to a channel, see a character, and using a controller, take part in the decision making that they're going through anyway. So you kind of ride around inside them. You become a passenger in their life for the brief moment that you alight in their consciousness.
He is sincere, Captain, without question.
All life is precious to us, Seafather. We will assist you in every way possible.
One of the things you can do is pick up facts and information which give you influence.
We could agree if we knew more.
If another character has the aspirations of his people at heart, then Picard's offer of help will tend to, pressure that character in a positive way to create a relationship.
Captain, he is sincere, but I sense he will tell us more about his plans in exchange for your agreement.
We will agree to assist you, Seafather, if you tell us more about your plight.
We seek freedom from this death and spawn cycle which stunts our growth as a civilization. Station Harb is the key.
And that's an important aspect of this. These facts and influences really have an effect on relationship. If you go in and hammer somebody with some damaging information, then after a while they may refuse to see you anymore because they're getting beat up whenever they meet you.
Although his concerns are pressing, we must understand more about the attacks upon the Enterprise.
Before any matters are addressed, tell us who is attacking my ship.
The fate of my people is what concerns me, and nothing else.
But once a decision is made, then a set of changes percolate throughout the world. Messages are sent from one character to the next, and people reorient their view of the world. So if we've turned back this character and not gone forward with Federation membership for him, his rivals will know that he's failed in his mission as a result of our decision, and will then change their behavior. So what we're hoping to create is a kind of twitch drama, where instead of, twitching your way through a battle with unnamed foes, you're actually twitching your way through a set of encounters and putting spin on what happens in these situations.
But is this sincerity or guile? Does he speak the truth?
I mean, there are some pieces of software whose only objective is to give you a new way to drool, and we wouldn't mind giving a new way to think about the world.
For the most part, game worlds are still better at information than Soul. But if that's enough for you, it can go a long way.
This is where I live, and this is the view out my window. I can see bits and pieces of my world, but I never really get to see the big picture. I know how often my garbage gets removed. I'm told when to put it out, how to sort it, but that's all I know. I have no say in the matter. This is the transit station near my house. From this point, I have more access by public transit to my community than most people. I wonder what it would cost so that everybody could have service like this.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. I was just discussing our bad traffic problem with a colleague.
Experimenting in real life costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of time. And what would the neighbors say? You can't really bulldoze things for fun. But suppose I were running things. What would I do? The first time I played SimCity, I took the game, I loaded it onto my machine, and I was up all night. I couldn't go to sleep. It was amazing to see this city that I built just start to grow. I was infatuated with the game, and the second night I sat down to play, and eventually I fell asleep, and when I woke up the next morning, my city had turned into this sprawling metropolis all by itself. And that's when I realized that somehow, even though it was just a computer simulation, it was really alive.
We see
play and learning as the same thing, and that people are typically playing to learn, and playing is learning in a safe environment. And that's what simulation is all about, is doing in a safe environment where the consequences of your actions aren't nearly as bad as in real life. That's pretty. This is a satellite view of your city from very remote. And what you can do now is you can move in and zoom in onto the city and zoom all the way into the closest view. What we allow you to do is to remove layers so that you can remove the buildings, remove the surface, and now we can see underneath. We can remove the roads. Now we're just looking at the sewers and underground. If you notice all these cells, there's these little squares all throughout the city. Each cell has all of the data for the entire game, so each cell is being calculated independently. We're able to calculate all the cells so quickly that you think that it's all happening live all at once. And it'll develop on its own because the citizens will decide what to build. You're just zoning. We have a newspaper with SimCity, and this is how you get most of your feedback on what the citizens are thinking. Each newspaper is unique. It rewrites itself.
I wonder what happened to this building development. It would be nice to avoid making the same mistake twice.
For everything you do, there's something that'll happen. So for every action, there's some reaction. And we're not trying to say that it's right or wrong. For example, if you put in a power plant, you have your choice of coal, hydroelectric, oil, nuclear. Now, each of these have different consequences. Coal is a lot less expensive, but pollutes a whole lot more. We'll put in a nuclear plant.
You're a mighty good mayor. I've enough power lines and power plants to service your fine city. Splendid job, Mayor. Just splendid.
All right, thank you. The CD version of SimCity will have real actors in real locations playing out the results of sim decisions. Here, the game world could actually help the real world, and whoever is running it.
Have you heard of black holes? That's what the city will become if you don't build more transmission lines immediately. You need a good shot from one of your very own 10 gigawatt lines. Maybe then...
The SimCity nuclear power plant right next door to our Sim Action News studio had a meltdown today.
Well, now you've gone and done it. Does this little disaster help illuminate your mind? No sense crying over spilt milk. Just rebuild as quickly as possible.
It's not always intuitive what you would do to create a solution to a problem in a city. For example, during the LA riots, a lot of people called me and said, what do you do about this sort of a problem? You know about cities. They wanted me to send in the military or have more police.
Mayor, we're getting eaten alive out here. Recruit regular citizens. Call in the militia. I don't care. This is war, and we're losing the battle.
Here goes the sign. Come on.
My suggestion was you should put in pedestrian malls, more parks, and give grants to the businesses to make them nicer. And they were shocked. The truth of the matter is, if it's a nicer place to live and people have jobs, you get more tax revenue. If you have more land value, actually crime typically will go down. You have less money that you need to spend on your police services. And the exact opposite is true. So it's either a negative or a positive spiral. People typically are really fascinated with the destruction of a city early on. We have fires, floods, airplane crashes, tornadoes, earthquakes.
God damn it! Earthquake! SimCity!
Once you put a lot of time into your building your city, then you have ownership of the city, and the last thing you want to see is a disaster. So for those people, we have a menu option which is no disasters, and then there won't be any problems with your city. The most important element of SimCity is that of ownership. People take ownership of the city. When they talk about SimCity, they talk about it as something that's theirs. They say, my city, and they talk about their personal problems with the city. So they'll say, I have a crime problem in this part of town, or I'm trying to decide if I should zone this area for residential or commercial.
That's the thing of it. You don't own the real world. In fact, it often seems that you don't even have a voice. In the game world, nobody takes your power away.
We think that the people will be the most interesting aspect of the city, and we haven't had people in SimCity yet. But it's also the most complex part of designing a simulation, and not because people are the most complex thing to simulate, it's just that if there's one thing people know, it's other people. And that's our biggest challenge now.
We hate to think about those social aspects. There's certainly, for a wide variety of reasons, more people spending more time at home. We know also that Nintendo is a tremendous asset for all those households where there are two working parents, and the millions of youngsters who return home each day from school to an empty household. And so we're positioned well for people to stay at home regardless of the reasons for that.
Everybody in the video game environment and the family entertainment environment are trying to create the feeling of being in the game and being a part of the game. I call it the sweaty palm syndrome, because you get in the game and all of a sudden you have this level of excitement that you really are flying this plane and there is somebody attacking you and your hands are grabbing the joystick. And it's my evaluation of a good game if my palms sweat within 15 seconds.
We have games that take well in excess of 100 hours to make your way through once, and then you can play it again on a totally different plane a second and third time.
What we're trying to do is create a virtual world that mirrors the real world. And the distinction between the real world and the simulated world is going to start falling out. And the reason is that as we build simulations of cities, eventually people will be programming in the data for real cities. This is a prototype of a dollhouse product that we're planning, where you'll be able to build and design your own home and then place it into SimCity. And so that if SimCity and Dollhouse are linked, it means you'll be able to go into any building in the city. And the idea is that there'll be a complete experience and you can have many different ways of viewing the city.
Well, I think it creates the whole environment for the public to interact without going outside and confront some of the environments they may not want to confront at that period of time.